This conference will now be recorded.
So you may have heard that. Let's see here. Okay. I am Leah Meyer. I'm a program director with the Nebraska Recycling Council. We are joined with Keep Nebraska Beautiful, Kelly Jones, a program manager. And you see our faces on the screen here because we'll be presenting it, but the content today. But none of us do anything in a vacuum, so I want to introduce our team. And if no one minds, I'll start with Heather Creven, our executive director. So Heather, if you don't mind popping on your mic if you're comfortable and just saying a couple of words about what you do for us and all the great work you do for our state.
And as Leah said, I'm the executive director of Nebraska Recycling Council. And so I work with our program directors and all of our staff to maximize and minimize waste and maximize recycling and composting throughout the state of Nebraska.
Thank you. And Megan?
Good morning, all. Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Jackson, I'm program director. I lead our initiatives with our composting and organics programs. Also part of planning our collection events that Leah will talk about a little bit later to help give residents and businesses opportunities to divert harder to recycle materials like our CRT tube TVs, things like that. So nice to meet you and have you joining us.
Yes, thank you. And in the interest of time, I just want to thank Beth Anderson, Allison Majerus, and Haley Nolde, our support staff, and they are the grease that keeps our wheels running. And I know many of you have interacted with them, especially Allison as she set up this time for us. So I'll kick it over to Kelly to introduce herself and her team.
Yes, good morning. And like she said, I'm a program manager with Keep Nebraska Beautiful. And this morning we have our brand new president and CEO with us, Bob Verkuylen. I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you just a little bit about himself.
Bob. Good morning, everyone. As Kelly mentioned, my name is Bob Verkuylen. I am a whopping 9 days into the president and CEO role of Keep Nebraska Beautiful. Very excited to be here. Thank all of you for joining us this morning. I'm learning a lot every day from Kelly and Pete, the two long-timers at Keep Nebraska Beautiful. And again, in the sense of time, Kelly having a lot more knowledge on the programs as I continue to climb the curve. We're going to have her do the presentation this morning, and yeah, just really excited to be here. Looking forward to the future with Keep Nebraska Beautiful and working with all of you to do what we can to keep our state great.
Fantastic.
And then
Thank
I would
you,
like
Bob.
to say that we do have one of our local affiliates from Keep Cass County Beautiful, Linda Burns, and she runs the program that's in Cass County, so covers several communities. So we're happy to have her join this morning too.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yes. So we have asked everyone here today and so appreciate your time. The reason that Keep Nebraska Beautiful and the Nebraska Recycling Council are partnering on this event today to bring you all together is the alignment of our organizations and how we can support statewide initiatives related to litter abatement, litter reduction, resource management, including reduction, recycling, and compost. So we are both statewide organizations touching each of your districts, and we want to be sure you're aware of the expert resources that we have for you so we can support your constituents and your legislation. So with that, we'll just jump right in. To give you a background on both our organizations, I can get this guy going. Here we go. So the Nebraska Recycling Council, at our 30,000 foot view, our mission is to maximize the economic and environmental benefits of resource recovery in Nebraska. Our vision is a future in which all materials are reserved for their highest and best use, landfill disposal being the last resort. So that is where that reduction, that composting, recycling comes in, of course. Our great wish is to protect Nebraska's good life for future generations. So we advocate for local and statewide policies that improve outcomes in recycling and composting programs. We provide materials management, technical resource, education, and resources for businesses, municipalities, schools, and institutions. So here on the screen, you can see us working with recycling centers, with composters. You can see on the far right here, working with the Village of Clitonian doing a waste audit. This was in the past year. So really trying to get direct access and advocacy for these communities and learn what their direct needs are. Here on the screen, you can see our statewide impact. So we are a member-based organization. We are also grant funded in many of our projects. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We have a staff of 6, a board of directors, an advisory council, and grants review committee that spans the entire state. Please note that this impact is from our 2020 annual report. You'll see some heavy engagement in the Southeast and, Senator Dorn and Senator Slama's districts. That was due to a waste reduction and recycling grant on recycling access and composting that we had done in the Southeast in 2020. We're doing that same project in the Panhandle and South Central region this year. So we'll be moving out further west, and we're really excited to have the state mapped after that project completes. So what we do, we're the seat of the Nebraska chapter of the U.S. Composting Council with 8 active committee members. We are the chair of the Nebraska Measurement Task Force, part of the Heartland 2050 Solid Waste Working Group. We provide consultation to municipalities, recycling centers, nonprofit, private organizations in waste audits, or just access to grants, access to funding, any kind of consultation they would need around their resource management, zero waste, technical assistance. We administer the recycling equipment grants throughout Nebraska. $244,000 in equipment grants were awarded last year throughout the state. We've published reports on Nebraska resource management and best practices, and we host informational webinars and an annual conference. I would like to take just a brief minute here to have Megan come in and describe a little bit more about the U.S. Composting Council, as that's a relatively recent program that NRC has worked with our National Compost Council. And I know with so many of us, so many of you involved in our agriculture communities, that this is this could be a big interest for your constituents. So Megan, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Thanks, Leah. In 2019, Nebraska Recycling Council became a state chapter of the U.S. Composting Council. We have a small group of committee members and members that are leading as our advisory council, and members across the state that represent composters, municipalities, other stakeholders in the composting industry. Our goal and with this work is to provide support, advocacy, networking, and training to benefit the composting industry and stakeholders. For example, one of the projects we are very excited to bring to Nebraska is a very well attended and popular training course called the Composter Operations Training Program, or training course, and it's a 5-day, 40 hours. We're partnering with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln to host that on site. So it's something that sells out every year with attendees coming nationally. We, of course, want to make sure that we have early bird registration to try to get as many Nebraska folks to attend as possible. That will be held August 2nd through the 6th at UNL on campus. So that's one of our projects. We are also looking to support the industry and grow the industry by engaging in advocacy, encouraging and guiding research, promoting best composting practices, establishing standards, educating professionals and the public, folks like you and sitting in the seats, and enhancing product quality and the markets as well. So also identifying where we can best use the composting, use organic products. So I am kind of a point person at this point on the Composting Council. If you have any questions about that work, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to kick it over to Kelly to describe Keep Nebraska Beautiful and the impact they have on the state.
Yes, good morning. And the things that we value, which would be in our mission, is that we inspire Nebraskans to take action to improve and beautify our communities. We also have the vision that Nebraska is a place where every community is clean, green, and a beautiful place to live. And a couple years ago, we did a strategic planning, and we came up with the motto that we want to have as reducing waste wherever possible. So you'll see from our programs that we definitely are focused on those different areas. So next slide. Oh, that's right. First, I'll give you a little bit more about us. Our actual official title is the Governor's Council to Keep Nebraska Beautiful, and we are a 501c3 public service organization dedicated to, as it says on the slide, educating Nebraskans on litter prevention, recycling, and beautifying our communities. And then, as I had mentioned, we do have one of our local affiliates on this morning from Keep Cass County Beautiful, Linda Burns, and we have 19 other locations across the state. Some of them are communities, some of them are regions, and some of them are the end county. So we've got both of those throughout the state. So the map that shows at the bottom kind of gives you an idea where they're at. So they are all across the state, all the way from Alliance down to our Cass County. We have one in Keep Beatrice Beautiful, and then we've got like the Grand Island Clean Community Center system. So we've got them just all across the state and all the way up to, we've got one in Northeast Nebraska. So we've got a lot of different affiliates across the state. All right, next slide.
There's a little bit of a delay. It's coming.
Yeah. Okay. So then with our programs, one of our main programs is the Nebraska Materials Exchange Program. That actually started way back in 1994 and has been going ever since. And we used to focus more on the industrial side, but we've kind of gotten more to where if a company is going to move their site and they have a lot of furniture that they don't want to take with them because they're going to refurnish in the new place. So they would contact us, and then my coworker Pete, who runs the Materials Exchange Program, he would send out like a blast email to a group of over 250 nonprofits, let them know what's available. And usually within 5 minutes, he's got several responses. He had one just the other day, and within minutes, he had just so many that were interested in the items. It can be anything from the office furniture, sometimes computer systems, filing cabinets, those types of things. They're really hot items, and for nonprofits, it's a really nice service, and it's free. We don't ever take possession of anything. We just facilitate the exchange. We connect them, and we have a quarterly newsletter called The Link, and in that we will list items. We have what we call generators and seekers. So we'll show what is being generated and then what is being seeked, what they're looking for, and then people can go through and look, and it's got a code on it. They can contact us and we can let them know who has those items, either if they're looking for it or if they have something to get rid of and see that someone could use that. With the manufacturing side, which we're hoping to kind of get going again, if there is maybe a manufacturing process where they have some leftover chemical, that could be listed, and there might be another manufacturer that could really use that, and they can make that exchange. We used to have several of those, and we're kind of trying to get back into that. We also have recyclers that we can work with, that if someone has a need to get rid of something that could be recycled, say pallets, we'll have ways that we can connect them and get them together. Then our next one, that it's a fairly new program, but our food waste prevention program, it's a public education one. And what we've been doing is, of course, the pandemic hit and it kind of changed everything, but we had been working with Beyond School Bells to create a 12 lesson curriculum for after school programs in these community learning centers, or CLCs. So once everything's back in person, they'll be able to do them in person, but right now it's available online. And it kind of goes through some different things with, they have like the farm to fork, and they'll talk about what is food waste, and then students can keep like a food journal, and they teach them about how to shop your refrigerator first before you go to the store, so kids can kind of do that with their parents. They were talking about doing something with like a little critter that they could put on the refrigerator to remind them every time you go to shop, oh yeah, we got to make sure we check that before we go. So that's something we're hoping we'll be able to launch in the schools when things kind of get back to normal. But for now, it's working for online. And we're just going to try and get that spread across the state. And then we also have the Nebraska Used Oil Collection Program, and we have almost 60 sites across the state where citizens can bring in their oil to be collected, and then we have a contract with a vendor where they come all across the state and pick up that oil from our sites, and then that's re-refined or it's used in asphalt application. So that's been a really good program, and the sites, because we have it as a statewide group, we're able to get a better price for them, and then that helps to sustain the program. If they have any equipment issues, they're able to use the funds that they get for the oil to help pay for any kind of repairs or the employees that are used for that program. So that's been a very successful program, and every quarter we collect information from them to see how much oil is being collected, and that's done well. And then another one of our programs, and that is starting up right now, it's supposed to be launched on March 20th, is the Great American Cleanup, and that's actually through Keep America Beautiful, which we are a statewide affiliate of, and it's the nation's largest organized community improvement program. And it can do anything. I mean, people can participate from a lot of communities. We have all of our affiliates will run the program in their area, but we also have statewide, we'll send out a mailing, and we get communities all across the state, from communities that maybe have 150 people to one that have several thousand, and they will do organized cleanups in their community, or they'll do plantings, maybe tree plantings or flower gardens, or create a new peace garden or something like that. So we've been doing that for several years, and we did have a component of it that's Grow Big Red, that if people want to plant red flowers, just to kind of show this Husker spirit and just, part of Nebraska, that it's all across the state too. So we've been pleased to be part of that Great American Cleanup, and it's been in existence for over 20 years. And like I said, it's through Keep America Beautiful, and we do have national sponsors that help with that. And so, like for instance, this year we have Lowe's that'll help us with purchasing the trash bags that can be sent out to communities. So that's been a really big help too. By having it all together, we're able to really do a lot. And then a couple of our school programs, we have the Litter-Free School Zone, which is where schools sign up, and they have a sign that says this is the Litter-Free School Zone, kind of like the Drug-Free School Zone, and they just sign up to say that they will keep their school grounds clean. And then we have a lot of them that also participate in recycling, so they will give us information every quarter about how much they're recycling and how many times they've done the litter cleanups. And then they can also let us know if they do any events as litter free, for instance, football games where they'd have bins for trash and bins for recycling, and they would encourage everyone through the loudspeaker to make sure that they keep it litter free. And our last one that I wanted to mention for sure is our school chemical cleanout campaign, and that is one where we have helped different schools be able to get their chemicals cleaned out. We had a grant in the beginning to help with that, and we went through ESUs, and they would have their schools kind of communicate together, and then we would have a a vendor go out and collect those, do it in like a milk run so that we could save them some transportation costs by having it all in one area. And that was very effective. We got almost 300 schools, mainly high schools. Some of the schools that consolidated, that was really helpful to have that cleanup that they could do. And they would have like highly hazardous, mercury containing, potentially explosive, flammable, and anything radioactive. And we had a specific vendor that would go out and pick up the radioactive and another one that did the mercury. So by working through us, we were able to help them make those connections to get that taken care of. And when we had the grant, that helped with the coverage of the payment on that too. So that was really a good program. We have other programs, but those are our main ones. We do have the litter hotline, but it's mostly in the eastern part of the state. And it's where if someone sees someone throw something out of a car, they can report to us and a letter goes out from their county sheriff to let them know had it been an officer that saw them, what the litter laws are, and just to educate them on that. And it includes a bag for them to put in their car and then a sticker to report if they see anyone. So that's definitely an educational program that we have. Those are our main ones that we have. And then we do have a household hazardous waste that we've been working with too. And we have 3 permanent sites that we work with, but we've got some others across the state that we do kind of keep in contact with and just make sure everything's going well. So those are our main ones. I'll turn it back over to Leah.
That was so great to hear. And I love learning about K&B programs, especially because just so dynamic across the state. You know, some of them are very focused on community education and others are partnered with their municipality for recycling. It's a really incredible program. We're going to talk about our events that you can be a part of. You can inform your constituents. It's for the benefit of your community. Upcoming for the Nebraska Recycling Council, we have our CHARM event, Collection for Hard to Recycle Materials, here in Lincoln. That will be on April 24th, and we will send out more information on it. August 2nd through the 6th, like Megan said, we will have our compost operators training course here in Lincoln. I believe that there will be, the university has opened up the dorms for that. Is that right, Megan? Or?
Yes, that's correct. That attendees will have room and board on campus.
Okay, fabulous. So please, if you're talking with your constituents about compost and or ranching or feedlots, this is a great component to add into it. It's just a critical industry that's just growing and needs these professional training on this. So really great. October 5th through 7th is our annual conference. This year, our theme is Waste Nothing. We have a wide range of session topics appropriate for just your, your community leader to educate their residents, to composters, to policymakers. So wide-ranging subjects to benefit all of Nebraska. We have a webinar series. This one in particular is focused on hard to recycle materials from plastic wrap to ag plastics, and we'll have a special session on accessibility on accessibility in recycling for physical and I believe it's just physical impairments. We do every other month. We have a Recycling Centers Professionals bi-monthly resource call. So we take recycle centers from all across the state together to discuss any trends in the field, any issues that they're having, bring them together to discuss and improve. We also have we will always have a resource on that call to connect them to, and so to expand their network. And then statewide, this early half of the year, we're doing a collection for CRTs as part of I believe that was an NET grant. And Keep Nebraska Beautiful, what have you got going on this year?
Yes, and as we mentioned, or as I mentioned earlier, we have the Great American Cleanup coming up. Last year, because of COVID, it was delayed and started later, but this year they're hoping to launch on March 20th. So we're hoping that'll work out, and it's usually through the end of May, but we may end up having it go a little bit later, just kind of seeing how things go. And because usually it's a community-wide type of project, but with COVID, we've been encouraging people just to clean up their own neighborhoods and maybe help each other and, you know, social distance. But a lot of the cleanups you can still do with distancing and being able to do that. And as I said, we'll provide them with some trash bags if they sign up, and then they report back to us at the end of how much they've collected. All of that goes into Keep America Beautiful, and they track everything, and it's amazing what it can do all across the country, because we've got affiliates in many states across the country and a lot of communities that participate in that. And then a new event that we're going to be doing on June 3rd, it's called the Evening KNB, and it's a social event and a fundraiser. And this year we're going to be having it at James Arthur Vineyards out by Raymond, Nebraska. And that's a Thursday evening, and we'll have the whole facility to ourselves. And we're going to have musicians there, and we'll have wine tastings and appetizers, and it'll just be a good networking and social event. We'll have a silent auction, and we're just hoping it'll be a lot of fun, and we're hoping the weather will be perfect, so that'll be a lot of fun. So anyone is invited to join into that, and we'll be getting more information out soon, and it'll be on our website also. And then our next one is Keep Nebraska Beautiful Day. And I did send an application in to try to get that proclaimed by the governor on that date. And he did last year, so we're hoping we'll get that again this year. And we're going to try and spread that across the state through our local affiliates. Also have organized events, and they can be cleanups or recycling events. We've got different things that they can do, that we're hoping that that can just be a statewide day to raise awareness of Keep Nebraska Beautiful and all of our local affiliates. And then in August, the date's not exactly set yet, but we're working on, it'll be a Wednesday afternoon and a Thursday, our annual conference, and that always ends with our environmental awards ceremony. And with that, we recognize the efforts of communities, individuals, groups, schools all across the state. We have categories like the Great American Cleanup. We have youth group school, both an elementary and a secondary level, civic nonprofit, business. So we definitely like to recognize the efforts of a lot of different organizations. We also recognize all of our affiliates who attain a certain level, and it's a gold level. And we had 7 of them that did last year, and they also participate for Keep America Beautiful for what's called the President's Circle. And we just got notified of that. And we had 16 of our 20 that qualified for the President's Circle, which is it means they're really doing a lot all year long. And then our last thing is that this year is our 25th anniversary of our Golf for the Environment tournament. We have had several senators participate in our tournament in the past, and we'll have that out at Woodland Hills near Eagle, Nebraska. And it's a 9 a.m. It's a scramble format, and it's always a lot of fun. And we always have, at the end, we'll have a luncheon, and we have raffle prizes, and we're hoping to do a live auction this year and have some really amazing prizes. So we'd love to have any of you come out that would be interested, and we'll have more information on our website. We're working on that right now, and our board members are helping us get the word out there too. So we're hoping to get we wanted this to be our biggest year. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Oh, that sounds so exciting. So now that we've described who we are, we also want to be more specific on how we can be an asset to you. Both of us are 501c3 nonprofits, so while we can't advocate directly on a particular position, we can be an expert resource to you. We can share current information on resource management in your district and provide the most current examples of state legislation studies and benchmarks, as well as contacts with policy experts and local professionals in your district. So curious on how a particular piece of legislation might impact, say, well, let's go back to a composter. So if you're unaware of the compost operations operating in your district, we actually may be connected with them through our programming. I would also, as another example, we'll take deposit laws. So bottle bills, where the consumer gets a small return on returning a bottle. This is a fantastic piece of legislation for reducing waste. However, it may not be very popular with recycling centers that are reliant on some of the return they get on the aluminum from say, a pop can. And it may impact the sustainability of their operations. That's not to say that deposit laws or bottle bills are a bad thing and shouldn't be pursued. It's just that we would want you to take full consideration of its impact and discuss with Keep Nebraska Beautiful, discuss with with the Nebraska Recycling Council on the impacts of some of this legislation. So other items to consider would be extended producer responsibility on specialized materials like paint. You heard Kelly talk about household hazardous waste from schools. And even things like mattresses. These take up space in landfills. They're hard to recycle, but they have networks across the US that have producer responsibility policies that can facilitate a take-back program that can be possible in Nebraska. There's also policy on landfill usage and restrictions to reduce waste that's happening in our landfill, or reduce how quickly it's filling up. Ways to incentivize compost operations at transfer stations, or how one might approach a waste characterization study, which I'll point out, Nebraska is one of the oldest in the country. At 2009 was the last time our waste characterization study was completed. So there's a lot of different ways we can work together. And ultimately, too, we just appreciate the contact and communication with your constituents as our projects reach across the state. You can see Senator Dorn in this image here promoting our compost program. This is the U.S. Compost Council promoting compost. And we just really appreciate having our senators engage in that. So we can also funnel that back to your constituents to show that this is a statewide focus. This is an important concept. And I'd ask K and B if you've got any comments on how else we can work together and what else you'd like to see from that?
That sounds like you covered a lot. It sounds really good, and I agree with a lot of what she said. We can help you with different things in your districts, and we can sure let you know. I mean, for instance, on the school chemical cleanout, we've cleaned out so many different districts, areas, and we could tell you which ones have been cleaned out, maybe which ones we still need to look at. And just in the last week or so, we've had 8 to 10 schools that have contacted us about the school chemical clean out. And so we're hoping to be able to help them. And we do have some board members who can help connect them to someone that can kind of help them figure out like who's the best vendor and some things like that. So there's just a lot of different things that we can help connect you with, and materials exchange. We can kind of help with some different things that would really help in your districts also.
Mm-hmm. Any comments from my team that's been doing this a little longer than me on how you might suggest we work with our legislators here? Oh. Great.
If I can make a quick comment, I think,
Yeah, please, Bob.
Just because we've done things one way for so long doesn't mean that we can't be creative and come up with new ideas or solve new problems. So I think the biggest thing, whether we've touched on something that addresses you directly today, or it's something that you may be thinking about or working on, getting together and having a little think tank and a little problem solving session. Let's solve those problems that we haven't maybe addressed yet, because obviously they're out there. So let's just keep the lines of communication open, and just communicate as best we can to solve these problems that are still hanging out there, as well as continuing to work on the things that we've already addressed.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bob.
Norfolk. Something I'd just kind of like to throw out to you guys to maybe look into is I'm aware that universities through their residential areas, their student housing side, occasionally will turn over a lot of their furnishings. And one of the local schools here in Wayne had a business called Rustic Treasure. I believe they're still there, but they wanted to acquire a lot of the tables and chairs that were being tossed, and then they use those kind of in a local program where people can come in and buy a chair, and they during the evening they paint it up, they kind of restore the chair, paint it, do a bunch of things. They ran into a roadblock where the school was not able to just give them the product because they were going to turn around and resell the product, and so that product ended up going to the dump. So I don't know if, as your function as Keep Nebraska Beautiful and being a nonprofit organization, whether you guys could be a conduit for that.
Right. What we can do, like through our program, it has to be free. They cannot sell it. We have a disclaimer with anything that they do have to definitely have it free. So it would be something where, I mean, they could certainly contact us, or we can contact, you said Wayne, so it'd be Wayne State then? So we could
Right.
contact
And so
them.
that's the obstacle I see there. And I don't know if there's, I think that's going to take legislative action of some sort, but I mean, the college could give you the product, but when you've got, from a recycle perspective, whether I'm recycled aluminum, plastic, cardboard, whoever's getting that recycled product is turning around and selling that at a they're making a profit on it. And that's the situation here. You had a local company that wanted to take that product, divert it from the landfill, do something with it, and then resell it as a product. And that's the obstacle that's in place. It's all, again, they're not going to take it and give it away. They want to take it and turn it into something of value and sell that.
True. Plus, the one thing that we run into a problem on things like that is there's so much at once, and we don't take possession of it. We connect people. So if they'd have it out right away, like I said, we can send out to like nonprofits. Sometimes, say, a mission would be thrilled to get some of the beds, some of the things like that. But it would have to be like they would just donate it. So, I don't know how that would work for sure. We could certainly look into it and see how that might be something we could do. We did have a hotel that completely redid everything, and they actually brought a semi in, and we arranged for all these nonprofits to come at the same time, and they were able to pick up all their items. So, I mean, there's a possibility we could do something along that line to have all of this on, like it all be loaded onto something. We'd have a specific location. People could come and pick things up. But that would be, there's a lot of logistics to work out on that.
There would be. It would be the reverse logistic of a tire amnesty program, where you're asking people to come in and drop off product. Now you're asking people to come in and pick up product. So.
Exactly.
It sounds like the real challenge there was the desire of this business, this Rustic, whatever, excuse me, I can't remember the name.
Yeah, Rustic Treasure.
Yeah, wanting to turn around and use that product then to sell. That was probably where I would imagine the hiccup came with Wayne State. So, is there something that could have happened between the two entities where maybe Rustic purchases it from Wayne State at a discounted price or something like that? But yeah, the material exchange program is just really I don't need it anymore. It's been depreciated. I don't want to throw it in the landfill. Let's find an end user that is now going to put it in their facility and use it instead of having to go out and purchase something. So, some fine details there, but certainly, again, something to think about and talk through and solve the problem.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you're connected now with Keep Nebraska Beautiful, Steve. I think that this is going to be a really good connection. And so, yeah, I want to thank everyone for attending and invite questions. You can see on the screen here, these are our contacts. Naturally, we'll be sending a follow-up to your offices. But are there any questions based on what you've heard here today, or thoughts on how you might want to work together? Nicole, oh, great.
Nicole had a good mention here about UNL auctions off their used office equipment, so maybe other colleges could follow that mode. But this, you said, was more from the dorms, so it would be the students. Is that what you were talking about more, not the actual university property?
No, this was university property.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, this was university property. So like within the residence halls, you know, they provide bed frames, chairs, desks,
Okay.
that type stuff. And they were just, you know, they were converting a residence hall or something. And so they just refurnished it and
Sure.
all that went to the dump. And then there's a lot of logistics behind there, you know, that local business probably didn't want all of it. They wanted to go in there and cherry pick through it probably. You know, so, but still there was an opportunity there to, you know, to divert some, maybe even 50% of that could have been diverted. And it's not just a Wayne State issue. That issue would be at any university.
Right. Yeah, and it's just, for example, Kelly had mentioned Pete had worked on one earlier this week, and gosh, he has this distribution list of over 300 people or institutions that either are generating or seeking. And, you know, as Kelly mentioned, very rapidly after he sent that email out, there were responses and requests for that material. So yeah, again, it's the challenge of all of these types of programs, right, is getting the word out and exposure to the program so that people can tap into them and take advantage. So, you know, and we may make a phone call to Wayne State and say, hey,
yes,
we heard about we heard about this most recent renovation, and if you ever run into those situations again, you know, let us know, and we can certainly help to facilitate the movement of some of these some of the furniture or whatever. So again, we talk about communication and just getting the word out and letting people know what's available, and again, trying to keep the state clean and landfills empty. So
Okay. All right. Well, yes. Yeah, thank you for these comments. I think it just really helps to demonstrate to the utility that Keep Nebraska Beautiful, that the MEPS program has statewide, and as well as, you know, all of our programs and these affiliates. I'd also like to point out, in absence of any current questions, we do have a statewide recycle guide on our website, and would ask that that be elevated and promoted as folks contact for recycle questions. You know, as Kelly mentioned, they are able to identify where there are issues in school cleanouts and gaps in accessibility. NRC can also identify accessibility gaps in recycling and drop-off programs throughout the state, which communities are lacking, which want them, and where we can work together on that. Beth just dropped the Recycle Search statewide recycle guide in the chat, so I'd invite you all to check that out. Okay. Any other questions folks would like to drop in the chat box? Okay. While folks are typing that up, I'll remind our contacts are on the screen, and we will be reaching out to with some of these resources we've described today. Thank you, Nicole, for joining. So, with no other comments, I'll invite us all to carry on with our days. Does that sound?
Thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate it.
very much.
Absolutely do.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.